Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. John Douillard at LifeSpa.com, where we prove ancient medical wisdom with modern science. And today I want to talk to you about the Ayurvedic take on the ketogenic diet. The ketogenic diet is sort of like a dietary pendulum that has been swinging towards a paleo diet of lots of meat and vegetables and no grains into now a ketogenic diet, which is taking that to another level of saying, well, maybe all that meat wasn't so good. Maybe we should just get rid of the meat to a certain extent and eat way, way more fat. And that's what a ketogenic diet is. It's a very high fat diet and a lower protein and a lower carbohydrate diet to the tune of 75 to 85% fat. And the rest is split between your proteins and your carbohydrates. And the carbohydrates that you're allowed to eat are only sort of above ground vegetable, carbohydrates, your grains and your nuts and your seeds and your starchy vegetables like wheat and things like that are actually not allowed. So it's a pretty austere diet. It's a pretty extreme diet. And before I go further, I want to say that I think that this diet has a lot of medicinal value and a lot of medicinal value, particularly for our current culture's addiction to sugar as a natural source of fuel. We as a culture don't do well burning fat. Number one abdominal surgery in America today is a gallbladder surgery, removal of your gallbladder. This is because of liver congestion and thus the inability for us to make enough bile to metabolize fats as fuel and to detoxify the environmental pollutants and fats we have, which push us in significant harm's way. So as a diet to reset fat burning, all about it, sort of, not completely. And we'll talk more about what I mean by that. But the question that I want to bring out first is, does this diet, the ketogenic diet as it's laid out today, 70 to 80, 85% fat, the rest split between your proteins and your carbs, is this a diet that has existed on the planet in a natural way? What I love about Ayurvedic medicine is you can take those Ayurvedic diets, drop yourself on any place on the planet, any time of the year, and you could eat Ayurvedically because Ayurveda is a study of nature and it locks us to the seasons. And so where does the ketogenic diet fit into sort of what our ancestors may have eaten? Well, the only place that supports a ketogenic diet, a super high fat diet, not even as high as 85%, but in the 60s to 70s, is the Inuit, Eskimo sort of Arctic diet, where people ate a lot of fish blubber, whale blubber, seal blubber, and they had a really high fat diet. And in the 1970s, they did research and they found that the people who were the Inuit Arctic people, they had really low heart disease compared to regular folks down here, not regular folks, but people who are not Arctic people, in that we don't get enough of the omega-3 fatty acids and we don't get enough of those good fats to give us those same heart benefits. Thus, fish oils became the craze. And luckily, fish oils turned out to have some amazing, significant benefits for other things other than heart disease, because the research on fish oils for your heart is a little bit controversial. But the benefits for fish oils for other things are actually very real. And before I trash fish oils, I want to say that the reason why we need more omega-3 fish oil fatty acids in our diet is because we have overeaten the omega-6 vegetable oil fatty acids, most of which are highly refined and toxic for us. So we have a huge amount of omega-6s in our diet and very few omega-3s. So one way to balance that is to get rid of the processed cooked vegetable oils in your pantry, throw them away, and increase your intake of omega-3 fish oils. It'd be great if you could say eat a bunch of fish, but that's sort of got issues with heavy metal. So the fish oils become one strategy for us to get, to get those omega-3s and get that balance back. So there is a real reason for them now, but let's go back to our Arctic people who in the 70s, they thought these people had very low heart disease. Well, what they did was they took, in very rural areas, they took hospital records and they used that as their study. Well, most of these people who had heart disease never went to the hospital because they were hundreds of miles away. So it turned out that their study was flawed, that the whole initial thing that made fish oil so super famous was flawed. And I have some articles coming out about this, so I think you'd be very interested to read. But it turns out, I'll give you a quick summary of that. It turns out that the fish oils that they ate, and they ate a ton of them, they acquired a gene in the Arctic regions to be able to handle and tolerate more fat, to not make their own LDL cholesterol, and to get rid of any excess. So they have a gene for that. And only 2% of people who are not of Arctic origin have that gene. So most folks who are not living above the Arctic Circle don't have that gene to handle a high-fat diet, which makes you think, what does that mean for a high ketogenic diet? In addition, new studies found that the people who live in the Arctic regions who we thought had low heart disease compared to the rest of the population actually have higher heart disease than the rest of the population because of a high-fat diet. Even though they have the gene to tolerate those high-fat foods, they're not tolerating them. So then we say, wow, where is the evidence that suggests that a ketogenic diet is actually really beneficial for us? And from an ancestral point of view, I haven't found it, and I would love to hear from you if you can show me that research. I would love to know more about that because, this is an investigation. That said, because of our fascination with carbohydrates, fascination with sugars, and highly processed foods that increase the availability of blood sugars into the bloodstream and make us really addicted to sugars as a source of fuel. And because of the cooked vegetable oils that have congested our liver and gallbladders and set us up for the inability to use fat as a source of fuel, we have become addicted to sugar and unable to deliver fats. So one way to deliver fats is to actually eat a ketogenic diet. Okay, now before I go there, let's talk about how Ayurvedic medicine naturally reset fat burning and deliver its own sort of ketogenic diet in a seasonal manner. And that was done beautifully every single spring. In the fall, which we're sort of in now, we have a high carbohydrate fruit and vegetable, nut, seed, grain diet. In fact, I've written a book called Eat Wheat. You all have probably heard about that, suggesting that wheat is not the poison that we're making it out to be. Generally, it's highly processed, and it's the highly processed foods that I just mentioned is the culprit. But grains are actually, they lower your glycemic index, they decrease your risk of Alzheimer's disease, and they really don't have any issues, but they're seasonal. The enzyme amylase, which we genetically acquired a gene to make about 2 million years ago, is specifically engineered to digest wheat and grains and starches, which increases in our body in the fall. To this day, we increase amylase in our body every single every fall. And then we lose that amylase to a certain extent in the spring. So we're better wheat, starch, grain digesters when they're harvested, which is millions of years of genetics to pull that off. But come spring, we went from feasts, which is the Thanksgiving and the fruit and vegetable, grain, nut, seed harvest of the fall, feasting like crazy, storing energy, storing fat for winter. And by the end of winter, early spring, we're starving. We're in a famine. We're forcing fat metabolism because there's no food to eat. So I publish a free seasonal eating guide every month for free. Anybody can get it. It's called the 3-Season Diet Challenge. You can get it at LifeSpa.com. Right on the homepage, there's a slider. You can dial it. You get free recipes for every month of the year. You get free grocery lists for every month of the year and free superfood lists for every month of the year to get us to get reacquainted with seasonal eating. Come spring, we are going to naturally nudge you into a naturally occurring ketogenic diet. I think it's a diet that will force you into fat burning in a natural way without having to eat a diet of 70 to 80% fats. Now, so stay tuned for that. Get that. That's the natural way to do it. The sort of medicinal way to do it. Now, the ketogenic diet was developed in the 1920s for treating epilepsy. It was a diet for a medicinal diet. To this day, in my mind, it is still a medicinal diet, not a way of life diet. However, keeping our carbohydrate levels low while we reset fat burning with high good fats and getting rid of all the bad fats, there's value to that, good science to that, a way to help reset our ability to burn fat and drive energy from our mitochondria. I am interviewing in December in my podcast, Dr. Joe Mercola, who wrote a book called Fat as Fuel. And I'm going to interview him and go into detail into his theory about fat as fuel. And we're going to kind of bounce Ayurvedic principles and his concept of a ketogenic diet. And we're going to really explore that. So don't miss that. That's going to be in December, my December podcast. So don't miss that interview. I think it'll be fascinating. But I do believe that a ketogenic diet for a short period of time, 2 to 4 weeks, for somebody who has no health concerns. The cholesterol is not high. They have a gallbladder. They're not having any liver bile flow issues that they're concerned about, and they're not in any gallbladder, they don't have any gallbladder issues, then that diet can be used, and they don't have any heart disease risk. You want to make sure that there's no risk there, and if that's the case, I think the ketogenic diet can be a very effective way to reset fat burning and get you off the addiction to sugar and get your cells to start to be acclimated to using fat as fuel, which I think is something I've been talking about for years and years. Our Colorado cleanse diet, our short home cleanses, those cleanses, the 2-week and 4-day cleanses, that's what they're all about, is to reset fat burning. We give you ghee in the morning to get the body to burn fat. We give you no fat for the rest of the day to force fat burning. So it's another strategy to make that happen, and it's been used for thousands of years, time tested. And I always feel a little more comfortable with time tested wisdom than sort of these medicinal diets, which were extreme and definitely have amazing health benefits, but there's not without health risks. So please read the articles that I'm writing about the ketogenic diet that are coming out in short order, so you stay tuned to knowing what are the pros and the cons and the risks of the ketogenic diet, how long to do it, who should do it, who shouldn't do it. So stay tuned to that. And thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more about this really, I think, important topic regarding a ketogenic diet. Thanks for listening. I'm Dr. John Douillard.